We have people everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth podcast. My name is Henry, joined once again by James, and we're reviewing Quantum of Solace, um, released in 2008, directed by Mark Forster. And I mean, this is typically a very overlooked Bond film, I feel. Like, even the makers kind of they like to pretend this one didn't happen for some reason, which is probably what they should have had the attitude for a later film. But I mean,
Yeah, Quantum of Solace always gets downplayed. The first thing I want to say about this probably has the coolest title of any Bond film, other than Skyfall. But Quantum of Solace is such a cool, it's actually one of those where I actually learned what two new words meant by actually finding out what it means. So, educational just from the off. Yeah, like you say, it is massively downplayed. It's like they're almost ashamed of it, which, like
for
you
some
said,
reason.
that shame disappeared later on, apparently. And Quantum of Solace obviously had its issues, but still, it was absolute. It's fine. It's not like a bad film. It's okay. It's not like a great Bond film, but it's probably. I mean, probably safe to say it's maybe Daniel Craig's third best Bond film. So,
Yeah.
it's not bad at all. I mean, it's a good action film. There's lots of good action in it, and
Yeah,
it's got an interesting plot. It's different, and yeah, of course. I mean, Daniel Craig was brought on to do some of the writing, wasn't he? Because there was a writer's strike.
Of course, yeah, because this is done during the writer's strike as well. So,
but people really carry on, especially the people in charge. They carry on oh yeah, it was like a nightmare, like carrying on like it was on the production of Blade Runner or Alien 3 or some nightmare set like that. It wasn't, man. This is.
Yeah, but in fairness, I mean, it wasn't in terms of horrible stuff happening on set. It's more just them being like they were literally rewriting stuff while shooting, basically.
Yeah, but that happens. That's not like a rare thing. Bond's always had the luxury of, having the wind in its sails in terms of, being able to get who they need and having the budget and having lots of time and space to do everything. I mean, I'm talking very generally speaking, but still, it's not like Bond. This is the most a Bond film has suffered during pre-production and during production, but all things considered, I think Bond fans can be very grateful for that fact.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I can say that I quite like about this film is two things. Unlike Casino Royale, it is very well paced. I think it's very easy to watch, and there's something that's I don't know what it is. This film kind of just feels fresh. I mean, I haven't watched it as many times as many other Bond films, but I've still seen it quite a few times.
Really? How many times have you seen
it? Maybe about 4 or 5 times.
Really? Yeah, I think I've only seen it about 3 times. So this is probably my least watched Bond film, other than, alongside License to Kill and For Your Eyes Only. Not because I've actively avoided Quantum of Solace or License to Kill. I have actively avoided For Your Eyes Only, but nevertheless, it's not a film that. I mean, it's obviously benefits from having a very short runtime, if not the shortest of any Bond film, right?
Yeah, it's the shortest.
What is it, 1 hour 47, if I remember right?
I think 1 hour 46 or something. Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting with this is you could, I mean, I don't know why you would, but you could literally watch Casino Royale and watch this right afterwards, and you'd have I don't know, a 4-hour Bond film.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the first ever Bond film which continued on from another one.
You could argue Diamonds Are Forever continued on from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but
or You Only Live Twice, but not so much like a hard continuation in terms of returning characters, returning plot threads and organizations and so on.
I think that was a very cool decision, and what I like is you get plenty of character development in this film for Bond, M, and Mr. White, which is good because they're all recurring characters, and I think it is a good decision to flesh them out a little bit. Well, not a little bit, quite a lot. And also Mathis comes back, and Felix Leiter.
Yeah.
So it's good in that sense. It's not like an irrelevant Bond film where nothing happens. It's actually, decent.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I feel like we could just jump right into it.
Let's do it.
I mean, So we get the very beginning is unfortunately not the gun barrel, but it's opening shot of, I don't know, some cliffside driving, and it's a car chase,
Mhm.
which while the actual action in it is good itself, I feel
Yeah.
like they obviously this film most people know is quite influenced by Jason Bourne, which was quite successful at the time. And the editing style reflects that in a lot of the action. And in this
Mm.
case, with this car chase, it was just there's too many fast cuts, like
Yeah.
to a ridiculous degree, where it makes it hard to tell what's going on sometimes. Um, and to be honest, I could have missed out this part. I actually genuinely
No, you're joking. This is like the part of the film that most people remember it for. This is the part which people go, "Yeah, this is the best bit," and you
really
don't feel that way at all.
not really. I think the best bit is really at the end where he's just
Yeah.
like
The end
everything's
is great.
over. He's just like Daniel Craig. His performance in this is great, by the way. I have to say, he looks like kind of just exhausted after everything. His car's battered.
I
Getting
think,
a
yeah,
bit,
this is
yeah.
well, possibly. I mean, if we're talking about pure acting, actually, you know what? He was great in Skyfall as well.
I
But
still think this is his best performance, at least to
yeah,
my knowledge.
it's well, definitely top two. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
And I think this might have come out the same year as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or maybe that came out in 2010. But either way, I think this is just about around Daniel Craig's prime as an actor as well. Just like very good, he knows how to be intense, and he doesn't have to display any emotions in this film that he's not particularly strong at, which I would argue is romantic side.
Yeah.
But again, having said that, I think with most Bond actors actually struggle with genuine romance, other than I would argue perhaps Pierce Brosnan,
Hmm.
George Lazenby, but only because the film was literally built around a romantic plot,
Yeah.
effectively.
And also they had an
I would
actual
argue perhaps
actress to
Timothy
do it.
Dalton a bit for because of the Living Daylights.
Yeah, but License to Kill is just non-existent basically. So
Yeah, but obviously that's a different sort of tone. But yeah, it's not often. So yeah, I mean, it's not really. I'm not really criticizing Daniel Craig for that, because at the end of the day, Bond isn't or shouldn't be a romantic kind of guy. I mean,
yeah.
he's charming, obviously, and handsome, but he's not like, I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway,
Anyway, this car
yeah.
chase is awesome, man. In my opinion, you get plenty of the DBS, because that's kind of a little complaint I had with Casino Royale. The fact you have a beautiful car there, and they use it for like a pretty iconic stunt. But other than that, it's not really utilized as much as it could be. And now it really is like battered. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
it's
fair. They
satisfying in
do
that sense.
actually. Yeah, they do pull out, a lot of stuff for is Aston Martin, You actually get to see it do stuff which you wish you could have seen in
Yeah,
Casino Royale. Maybe
it's not no gadgets either. It's just driving. The door gets ripped off. And my favorite bit is the fact that like because it's quite easy to forget. Like at the end of it all, he opens up the boot and Mr. White's still in it. It's like
yeah, Mr. White's in there.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and then you get to cut into yeah, he's like, it's time to get out, and then it's like, um, cuts into the opening credits, the opening titles of Another Way to Die by
yeah.
it's
Jack White
Jack
and Alicia
White
Keys.
and Alicia Keys. Yeah,
Oh, I love this Bond theme, man. I think this is one of the best
yeah,
ones. Daniel Craig, to be fair,
has some great Bond
has
themes.
excellent Bond themes. Like
Mm.
really, really top draw ones, and this is one of them. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen the music video for this as well, but
I
it's
have.
also very cool. It's kind of
Yeah,
like I didn't
yeah,
like it
I'm
at
glad there's
first.
parts that they cut out of it though from the original music video.
Yeah, of course, and I didn't like it at first, to be honest, but it's grown. I like it the more I listen to it, and it's really grown on me over the years. I think it's actually really good. I think it'll reflect well in our rankings at the end.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to say as well, the titles themselves, the credits design again, it's interesting. It's not as good as Casino Royale's one, of course, but especially like the very beginning part where he's just like in the middle of the desert and he goes for a shot and the camera is like following the bullet itself. And then it goes into, the titles and everything else and all the credits. Um,
Oh, as you sent me on WhatsApp earlier, there is the alternate one, which would have also been very cool, but it
Yeah,
comes a
but
bit
there
later.
wasn't.
So you don't want
Yeah,
like No Time to Die length.
by Shirley Bassey. Yeah, she did No Good About Goodbye, but that wasn't meant to
Right.
be. That was never actually a contender to be the song in this because it was made after the fact. But still, it's very good. If you haven't heard
Yeah,
it,
it's okay.
listen.
It's decent.
You can find it on YouTube, unsurprisingly, or
It's
Spotify, whatever you're
it's
listening to
amusing to
this
me
on.
that they've kind of, well, for these two films, they abandoned trying to actually get the title of the song in. I mean, Casino Royale could have been done, but we're not complaining because You Know My Name is such a fantastic song.
Yeah.
But Quantum of Solace would have been interesting to see if someone was could have fit that into some sort of lyrics. But anyway,
Yeah, that's true. But still, we open back up again after he's dragged Mr. White to this chair where he sees M and M's like, you look like you haven't slept in about 20 years, and he's like, yeah, great. And they do actually, come to the part where, the CIA is like, well, they wanted to have Lashif, and he's like, yeah, well, I gave them, and then she's like, well, gave him his body, and the line that Craig says, he's like, if they wanted this soul, they should have made a deal with the priest, which is quite funny. I mean, he likes, I quite like. There's a lot of dry humor in this, I feel.
yeah,
He pulls
and
off.
I think this is like quite a good play on when we first meet Lashif from Mads Mikkelsen, when he's like, he doesn't believe in God, he believes in a reasonable rate of return, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, you know what? That should have been among our Sigma quotes, I think, come to think of it. But
maybe,
never
but
mind.
still. We have yeah, Mr. White's just like, oh, I'm not gonna tell you anything, or you guys don't know who we are, and we also have people everywhere,
Mm.
including this guy who's like,
Yeah.
he's a bodyguard, right? And obviously, it's the James Bond film, but he doesn't
And
think
bodyguard, no less.
he has a perfect time just to shoot Bond in the head when he's not looking, but he doesn't. He shoots some other random guy, then goes for Bond, and then dips. And then M also dips, and Bond
Mm.
chases after this guy, leaving Mr. White to conveniently escape.
Mm.
All the while, we've got uh, like some sort of Spanish, I don't know, festival, something going on, like overgrounds that he has to chase this guy through.
Yep.
And there's a lot of like rooftop chasing, which I quite like. Especially, I think the best part is when Bond's like kind of lost the guy up in a tower, and he's like ringing the bells and trying to figure out where he is,
Yep.
which is quite tense as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it eventually ends in they end up on some sort of like wacky construction site sort of type thing,
Yeah, it's rope fight,
and
which is
yeah,
very cool. Very,
it's
yeah,
very
and it's full of suspense and tension because he's just trying to reach for the gun and it's just out of his eyes. It is good. The action in this film is pretty perfect, I would say. Right?
yeah. I mean, if this is my personal opinion, like I showed you earlier, there's like an alternate
Yeah.
gun barrel for this part specifically. I really think, I mean, this is just my personal opinion. They could have cut out the car chase at the start, and then had this bit,
You're
right, and
crazy,
have
man. You're
this
cutting out
intro.
arguably the best. Well, what most people acknowledge is the best part of the film. But I do agree that it wouldn't have been any harm in like making that, because that's the point of Bond. Well, the opening sequence, right? Pre-title sequence is meant to be like action drama, and then you have the song, and then like a bit of a
This
calm
is
down after
action,
that. So yeah, it would have worked either way. But I think we can forgive him for that. It's not bad the way it is. It could have been.
Yeah,
It
I
would have been
guess. To
very. It
be
would
fair,
have been great for that to be the gun barrel bit. But yeah.
yeah. Well, I suppose this film doesn't really suffer from having like a lot of fat on it, I suppose. Anyway, um, we do go on to yeah, he does unsurprisingly kill him, and then they have a great are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, I can hear you. Get on with it, man. Well, I can't hear you right now, but
Yeah, well, my fucking internet. Yeah, there's just a massive lag on my end, and the internet disconnected for the third fucking time. Anyway, yeah, I hope that one gets left in. Right, so then we move right on to London, where we get to hear a lot about Craig Mitchell, Agent Craig, and how he has no family. They can't find anything out about him. He even gave generously to charity. And they're like talking about Les Chiffre's money that they basically been
Whoa,
using.
Henry, you're not implying that people who give to charity might have an alternative motive, do you?
No, definitely not. But they're talking about these like marked bills and so on that they use to basically track who Le Chiffre was doing business with. We also get Judi Dench saying tenner, which sounds quite funny. Like, like, oh yeah, I might have a tenner in my pocket from one of these. But then they find, oh yeah, there's a whole stack of these bills actually that went to this guy in Haiti. So Bonnie should definitely check that out, which he does, because it just cuts straight to him in Haiti, which at least they save like 30 seconds on them telling him to do so. And he goes to the hotel and has another Jason Bourne style fight in the hotel, which I think is great.
Very cool.
And stabbing the guy in the neck. And another lead that he kills. But he does manage to get a suitcase from downstairs, which was supposed to be for this guy, and he does a bit of blagging as he meets Camille. Um, and this is quite good because this is Bond thinking of stuff on the fly. He's trying to, basically
Improvise.
preserve this cover identity he knows nothing about. Um, and yeah, he's a geologist. You know, I'm glad he doesn't have to do like a Roger Moore style, questionnaire, of like, what tectonic plates are where and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they find out they're being tailed. She tries to shoot him at some point, but then he ends up following her on a bike, and then we get to meet, as a result, Dominic Green and his bowl cut henchman
Yes.
off by the docks. Yeah, that henchman man. Like, I don't know what like decision they made to make this guy look as big of an idiot as possible, but um, I don't know. I think this is one of people's biggest criticisms of the film, which I don't really understand. A lot of people don't like Dominic Green, and is it just because he's short or he doesn't have like a facial disfigurement like every other Daniel Craig Bond villain? But I don't know. He really pulls off like being like a really slimy character. Like no offense to the actual actor himself, but they really cast a guy who kind of like has got these like bug eyes, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
in a way. I mean, maybe this is just fresh off the fact we watched Aliens the other day. But he kind of reminds me of the guy from The Company, like that kind of presence where it's just like, okay, he's not particularly threatening or menacing, but
yeah,
not someone that you want to like. He's just, yeah, just uncomfortable to be around, and or just yeah. He's got a
yeah,
good presence. And again, yeah, I don't think he should be criticised for that because he's we've seen all kinds of Bond villains, and this one's not a bad one. It's just more of a low key one, and
yeah.
I
A
don't think
tone's
that's a bad.
down. Rather.
I mean, especially for this film, he fits the Quantum of Solace as well. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. I also like to point out I found this out randomly before we did this episode. The actress who plays Camille,
Yeah,
I think her name is Olga Kurylenko or something.
yeah.
She's randomly in like quite a
Johnny
few
English
films. Yeah, she's in
returns. Yeah,
Johnny English Strikes Again. She's also in Hitman, and she's also in The November Man, which is
yeah.
stuff.
She's in loads of stuff. She's in Seven
So
Psychopaths as well.
yeah, so that's random, but
Yeah. Oh, she's
yeah,
a pretty interesting career, man. She's been in a lot of stuff. She's pretty good.
yeah, she's also very good in this film, I feel.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
um, but like at the same time, it's like, well, she manages to make a good character while the writers also haven't made it so that it also bogs down the film, which tends to be the case with a lot of previous
Mhm.
Bond films, if you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they also get to meet this general who's going to be the new dictator of Bolivia after the last one. And they're talking about this deal they're going to make where Green's going to use quantum to depose the current government and then put him in charge, and in return he gets this totally worthless desert land which has definitely got nothing important underneath
Yeah.
it. But yeah, and also Camille's supposed to be part of this deal. And
Yeah.
he says something like horrible, like, "Oh, yeah, throw her over the side once you're done,"
Yeah.
something like that. And
Because he trades her with this, like, where's he from? This well,
Olivia,
just this corrupt, politician effectively. So I could have just said politician there, but yeah, a
yeah,
more obviously corrupt one.
yeah, a general specifically, and
Yeah.
yeah, as a result, Bond's like, "Oh yeah," he gives his Universal Exports card, being like, "Yeah, tell us."
Yes, we
Uh,
love to see that, man. A bit of continuity there, like I love it when they name drop Universal Exports. That's like
yeah,
it's a little bit of a crowd pleaser move, fan but it's not fan service. That's
it's
something
literally
that's
just a
so
card.
key to Bond, and there's no reason not to use that every now and
Yeah.
then.
Also, Universal Exports is just a really cool cover sort of title for this
Exactly, and it's
MI6.
so generic, and it's so like real world, man. It's like Universal Exports could totally exist, man, as like a cover thing. In
Yeah.
fact, I saw a building once called. There's something similar. I'll send you a picture of it another time. I need to like make sure, but it literally says it's not Universal Exports, but it's close. It sort of combines the two words. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So it's
very
not quite Toshiba British Intelligence, but
no, not quite.
you also
Although,
have for
since
some.
you brought up another Johnny English reference, I did want to I did want to point out that there is another crossover. The actor later on who pops up as he's a foreign secretary in this, he plays Pegasus in
Yeah,
English as well. So that's
yeah, that's
you know,
nice.
worth mentioning. So
Yeah,
yeah.
as well. Yeah, you also have when someone points that out, I couldn't like I had to just pause just to check it again. That there's like some random extra for like one frame. He's just sweeping nothing. He's sweeping the air.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we know this one. But then Bond goes onto a boat chase, which is
Yep.
yeah, interesting. I mean, there's not much to say about it because he's going to save Camille, and then he finds out. Oh, it turns out she was actually trying to kill the general. But
Wait, is it at this point that what point does he meet Camille in the car as well? I thought that was before this, right? When they're both in the car together, and yeah, that's when she tries to shoot him, I think. Right?
it was early when
Yeah.
he's pretending to be a geologist. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's not much that happens in this boat chase. It's just kind of a lot of action. It's all
Yeah, but
good to be
action.
honest.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like it feels similar to the car chase at the beginning. There's nothing special, but it's not bad. The only thing that hurts a bit is it's not as bad in this case. It's just like very, very fast editing, which is
Mhm.
like, a bit jarring. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's kind of like the opposite of the Die Another Day car chase. There wasn't too many cuts during that, to my knowledge. But anyway,
Amazing.
yeah, so they end up getting out of that, and Bond she gets knocked out in the meantime because of a boat that went right over him. Reminds me a bit of like when the boat's on the back of the other boat. It reminds me a bit of like in what's it called, The Last Crusade, where they have the motorbike on the back of the other motorbike.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he's like sees that Green's going on a private jet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, can you please get me a plane to wherever this one's going?" And she gives him the charter flight, and I think yeah, because she gets on the phone with like the director of the CIA for South America or something.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, can we get some information on Dominic Green?" And he's like, "Oh, definitely not, because we're not working with him for sure." Or Felix Leiter is also on his plane.
Yep.
And the
Yeah, that's
great thing
so
is,
random
well,
because I think that's a really cool move they did because it almost makes Felix like look like not a villain, but it's good because that's genuine CIA stuff as well. He's like there and he's seen too
oh,
much
come,
kind of thing, and and he's obviously the good guy, but it's also like, whoa, he's could get
yeah,
sticky for sure.
yeah, and as well, yeah. So Green, it turns out that Green's actually going on the same plane as these guys, and along with this bowl cut henchman who you just don't want to see, to be honest. Um, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a very generic US deal where they say, oh yeah, well, as long as we get the oil, you can do what
Yeah.
you want, more or less. We'll sanction the other guys." And yeah, Felix is just like, "Oh yeah," they're also like, "Oh well, we also need to get rid of this guy." And yeah, partially on the photo of Bonds, then Felix just like You know, he's like, oh yeah, do you know this guy? And all he says is, sorry, more like, which I wonder what he means by that, other than, maybe like, I feel sorry for you that he's probably gonna like how much he knows
Yeah,
like
it's
a
late, isn't it?
psychopath
Yeah.
Bond is. Like, but still, I mean, he has a conflict of interest here, of course, and the other guy, oh, what's his name? The guy kind of looks like Ned Flanders a bit, like that mustache man.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not the director of the CIA, but he's some higher up. He's
Yeah.
like saying, "Oh, well, I need to know you're on the team, Felix. Even though I know you know Bond, I should definitely have gotten someone else to help me on this." Um, and they have this. It's not a concert, but it's like a performance in Austria, which I think is great. Because Bond sneaks in, and Daniel Craig's looking great in this tux that he's nicked from another guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's a lot of this is the thing I like about this. Is like they it's just like these little bits of like you know visual comedy or just like the dry humor generally. I mean, it feels like, I mean, for this film, it's quite appropriate, I feel. And he
I
also
wonder if that's
finds,
where Daniel Craig got to do his bit of writing. I wonder if he contributes to that because in general he does strike me as the kind of guy who does enjoy that sort of dry banter. Like
yeah, probably,
that fits in probably.
yeah, maybe. And he sees that they're all getting these special gift bags, so he manages to nab one for himself.
Hmm.
Which is great 'cause it's like
Yeah,
a
like a
little
kid's
cute,
birthday party.
yeah, a little cute earphone, which is interesting
Probably
earpiece.
got little Snickers or a Twix in there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And they yeah, he also like he knocked out this guy in the bathroom to steal his gift bag, and he just like rips the handle off the door and then just leaves it, which is
Mhm,
great. And he ends up being on the while they're all watching this performance of, I think it's Tosca, I think.
mhm.
He's like, this gives me some sort of like Living Daylights vibe, sort of.
Oh yeah, it's very cool.
He's like Bond at any kind of like performance of like some arts is just interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's going up the he manages to listen in on all the conversations they're having, like everyone from Quantum is there. They're talking about like their conspiracies and so on, while he baits them out, being like, "Oh yeah, can I say something? I think you guys should meet somewhere else." So they
Yeah.
all like
Yeah,
break
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they all leave except Mr. White, who's just there, like doesn't care. Um, while Bond's,
That's quite smart though. It's less suspicious if you don't move, isn't it?
yeah. It's cool that you get to see him there. I forgot that he was there. And they all pop off, and Bond has a little bit of action in that hall,
Mhm.
while the music is still playing, which is I don't mind actually. They could have done more generic action music and editing, but at least they didn't bother this time because it's something different. And he also is snapping pictures of all these guys with his, I don't know, must have the greatest phone quality, camera quality ever in
Yeah,
2008.
that's right.
Can recognize
2008,
all of
yeah.
them. They have to Face ID all these people, and then
Also, actually, I just kind of forgot. This is the last time for sure that we'll ever see a Bond film come out with only a 2-year gap.
yeah,
Right, because after this it was like 2 years, then 4 years, then 3 years, and then what, like 7 years or something stupid.
yeah,
So
no idea.
yeah.
I don't know, but still, yeah, they managed to identify a lot of these people. A lot of these people are very powerful, of course, and one of them is Guy Haines. Remember that name because he's the one of the
Yeah.
most close advisors to the Prime Minister, and Bonds is trying to get some information out of this guy's bodyguard, and knocks him off a roof, kind of Roger Moore style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very reminiscent of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, and his corpse lands on Green's car as well. Well, it's not. I don't think it's his corpse by then, but then his henchmen kill him.
Yeah, it certainly is after.
Yeah, Green's like, yeah, is this guy work for me? He's like, then why is he looking at me? And then they all just go out and shoot him.
That might be a Sigma quote of the film, to be honest.
Yeah. And M's like, it's interesting you get to see this from M's perspective as well, because she's like, you know,
Mm.
Bond's really like testing her patience because he keeps killing all the leads. To her knowledge, he's kind of, a bit of a rogue element here, and he's just going exclusively out of, a revenge because of Vesper and so on and so forth. So she doesn't know whether she can really trust him or not. And then she's like, yeah, cancel his passports, cancel his cards. And it's interesting
It
to see how
is actually in those kind of beats, even though it doesn't happen face to face, it is kind of the same kind of beats as License to Kill, isn't it? Because that's like a revenge vendetta sort of thing, and then he gets his like privileges stripped from him. So yeah, similar in that sense.
And he only
In fact,
realizes.
you know what? Both of these films actually, there are some parallels you can draw between the two. I would say. I don't think that's quite an unfair comparison, to be fair.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, ending in some sort of desert area, I suppose. But anyway, so yeah, Bond only realizes that his all the cards have been declined when he's trying to book a ticket for a plane to Bolivia, I think.
Yeah.
Again, and then he like tells the lady at the front desk like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, someone's gonna call you in a minute, and tell him I went to trying to go to Cairo, which is great. So he's trying to throw off MI6. For 5 minutes he gets to go back to Italy again from previous film, and he gets to meet Mathis, which is kind of like
That was interesting, yeah,
this thing,
because
which is
it's
kind of
like,
funny in this, where like Mathis is talking to, I don't know, his wife. Did you hear any of what I just said?
yeah. I know
That's it.
it's
I know.
funny because it's like it's quite it's good because it's kind of Bonds goes there with like his tail between his legs really because he's like, oh yeah, sorry about that, sorry about yeah, like I mean, yeah, obviously Matt has been very nicely compensated, but yeah, I mean, it's just implied that he got like probably tortured to shit, man, before that.
Yeah.
So poor bastard.
Yeah, as well. It's quite funny though, where he's like speaking in Italian. He's like, this man had me imprisoned and tortured, like the way to introduce him, and like all this time, like Bond's kind of just like grinning because he probably understands what he's saying. Um, and they have. He's like, oh yeah, can you? I know, all the torture and all that, but can you join me on this great trip to, I don't know, Green's epic eco party or whatever? Um, and then like in the evening, they're like, oh yeah, having a chat again. And the bartender explains what martini Bond's drinking in excruciating detail.
Mhm.
And the thing is as well, I was really like, when like Matt is talking about, I have pills for everything, I really was dreading like some really bad joke, but then it just ends up like going depressing. It's like, some make you taller, some make you forget, and then they just leave it
Mhm.
at that. And
Yeah,
Bond's just like sitting there like,
he's ODing on the
like,
forget ones,
yeah, literally. I mean, yeah, because this film is like generally kind of got like a bit of a dour sort of tone, which is fair enough.
And that's why it
And
fits. That's why Daniel Craig is like particularly good. I think he really fits those like really dark films. Like again, I mean, I know I've mentioned it a lot, but for anyone that likes Daniel Craig and his films and wants to see him in something other than Bond, I'd strongly recommend The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. There's another one which I think called Layer Cake, which is basically his audition for Bond, which I haven't seen yet. But yeah, if you enjoy really dark movies, this is David Fincher I'm talking about, so you know you can't go wrong there. Then yeah, it's a strong recommendation. This is a very underrated film, so yeah,
yeah,
people should go check that out.
yeah,
But
but
yeah, again, yeah, very dark there.
yeah. So Mathis gets Bonds, some dodgy papers and a card that actually works. So they end up getting to Bolivia again. At least I'm pretty sure it's Bolivia. But he also ends up running into Miss Fields,
Oh,
or Strawberry Fields,
oh.
questionable name, but she, yeah, she's like trying to get. She's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to turn you back and send you on the plane back to London, and then he's just like, yeah, don't care.
Yeah, he
Uh,
just turns it on. He's like, oh, we'll see about that.
yeah, exactly. I never understand this. It's like, why did they send like someone who does like an office job, who's some attractive woman to Bond? Like, it's never gonna work, and you know it. Just send like, I don't know, 10 people down to like, I don't know, who knows. Um, But you do get like a minorly funny line where like like what's it? Mathis says to him, you know, oh, I think she's got handcuffs, and then Bond's like, yeah, I hope so, because reminiscent of
Bond's
his
a
time.
kinky bastard.
It reminds me of his time in Mads Mikkelsen's basement.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and as well they go to this like crappy cover hotel where it's
Mads
like all
Mikkelsen's basement, man.
yeah. It goes to this like hotel where it's like it's like very rundown and everything. She's like, well, we're supposed to be teachers on sabbatical. This is like gonna help our cover. And he's like, no, no, we're gonna go somewhere else. So he goes to like the most expensive hotel in the entire
Yeah.
place. And then he's just like, oh yeah, we're teachers on sabbatical. We also just won the lottery, which is just like
Yeah.
great. So they're chilling in that hotel room, and she's like eventually like, oh yeah, I'm so angry with myself, and then he's like, yeah, I'm sure you are. And then Mattis is like, yeah, here's your invitation to Green's birthday party, which they attend.
It's a pretty like cringe outcome for that, and very inevitable. You feel, but
Yeah.
that I mean, what else do you expect? And I suppose in that sense, it works because it's like, well, you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the party, that atmosphere, the whole party sequence is actually pretty cool, though. To be fair.
Mm. Yeah, they've really managed to nail. It reminds me a bit of American Psycho, actually, like the kind of that that scumbag kind of rich people party that like only like elites get to attend, sort of vibe, and where like Green is giving like this really I'm such a great guy speech,
Yeah.
oh, I care about the environment so much. And he's even talking to some investors when Camille starts rocking his boat, which is like, oh yeah, something about that time where you like logged, I don't know, the whole Amazon or something. um and they're all just like, oh, I don't know about that. And then he's like,
And
gets
you know
really
what though? I
triggered.
just have to say it because it's something that always bugs me. It's like something I can't not notice, and I suppose this bothers me more than most people. But
Yeah.
actually, I'm really not sure how much taller she is than him. You know, it's like I mean, it's not Hank and Marie levels, but it's still like that I can't not notice that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he is, supposed to be this sort of like little rat. He's not
Yeah,
really the main villain of Quantum, obviously. So, it's like with Le Chiffre. I mean, not to the same extent, obviously, but they're both just pawns in a much larger game.
yeah.
And but he tries to like push her off the roof, basically. Well, not the roof, but balcony.
Hmm.
When Bond turns up, he's like, "Oh yeah, what's up?" And Green's just like shitting himself. And he basically manages to dip um, with Camille. And Miss Fields, in the best thing she does in the entire film, trips up the bowl cut guy all the way down the stairs, man.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Um, while like,
I don't know why they. Yeah, whatever.
no, but it doesn't really matter because Bond, I don't know, he's driving away in his car, and then he realizes, oh, the police are going to pull me over because they're definitely very fair and not corrupt.
Hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, where are your papers? He shows them, and then they're like, oh, can you open the back of your car, please? And he's like, well, why would you want me to do that? Oh, there's a corpse in here
Hmm.
because he left Mathis alone because he's such a great guy, and using them as a human shield, in fact, to dispatch of these policemen.
Hmm.
And their last, conversations like, oh well, Vesper really cared about you. Do you remember Casino Royale, guys? Yeah, she
Yeah.
actually sacrificed everything for you. Yeah, something, something. Yeah, we forgive each other, right? And then Bond doesn't actually answer that question. Then puts him in, a dumpster.
Yeah.
Uh, and Camille's like,
Is
is
this
this
how you
saying?
treat your friends? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have any friends. But he just says,
Yeah.
yeah, he wouldn't care. Um, which I don't know if that's true, to be honest, but who knows?
Oh, I
Uh,
wouldn't give a shit, man. Me personally, if someone wants to like, like, don't not on that note, I don't want to go there, but still, like, man, like, who needs a funeral, man? Just like throw me in the river, like, Mathis, yeah, you're dead. Who cares, man?
yeah, in a bin, to be fair.
It is
Anyway,
unceremonious, obviously, but whatever.
yes, Bond typically is unceremonious anyway. But they go, they go back to La Paz. and they fly that very large plane, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that guy was working on it in the middle of the desert, but either way, this is an excuse for a plane chase, which
Yep.
is pretty good.
Pretty cool. We get a car, a boat, and a plane chase all in the same movie. I'm trying to think the
Land,
last
sea,
time that
and air
happened.
warfare.
Maybe Moonraker. I think all three happened. No, there wasn't a car chase in that, was there? We had cable
Mm,
car, so
yeah, technically, it wasn't
yeah.
really much of a chase either. But anyway, yeah, it's. I mean, it's generally the same as much of the action in this film. It's just good. There's not much to say about it. Um, but they do get shot down while Bond manages to pull off some trick, which forces the other part to crash, basically, which is quite cool. And they have a very questionable way of saving themselves with that parachute, where like they open it like a foot above the ground, which
Mm.
doesn't lead them to break any bone or even sprain anything. But they do find what Green has been looking for the whole time. It's just a giant reservoir of water, which is quite cool because this is very ahead of its time in terms of water being a resource that people want to control now. Because basically, wars are starting to be fought over water now, so that's interesting.
And it's
Um,
also like I think it's at this point you sort of cut to like the remote desert village and stuff, and they
yeah,
don't have any water in their taps, and it's
yeah,
like it is very like gritty,
yeah. And this is something. This is something I wanted to mention as well, which is important for a Bond film. I mean, especially if the stakes isn't like, oh, we're gonna, destroy the whole world. In which case, you can picture what that is. If your plot is a bit more abstract, you have to at least show the consequences of what will happen. This is
hmm
a problem they have in Spectre, where it's like, oh, we're gonna have CCTV. All right, so what are you gonna do with it? And they never elaborate on it, and you never get to see what happens with it either. Um, but in this, it makes it feel real. It makes you kind of sympathize, obviously, with the
hmm
people affected, and it makes you obviously hate Dominic Green because this is just a massive hypocrite. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the point. But then M also gets to see the foreign minister, and she's like, "Well, the PM can speak to me if he wants." And then the guy's like, "Oh, well, yeah, if he wants to."
Well,
Um,
it's got M meets Pegasus, man. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's a joint
true.
universe.
Yeah, exactly. The MI6 MI7 joint universe.
Crossover, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, literally, even from Doctor No, they've mentioned MI7. So anyway, um, yeah, she gets told, well, if the guy, what's the thing that the guy says? If we didn't want to work with bad people, we wouldn't have anyone to trade with anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, which is true in the real world. But I kind of like that in this. To be fair, it's not like most films where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna show like the CIA or the British government or the US government being like, actually the good guys. It's kind of or in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah. And it
really
doesn't
kind
feel
of
generic either. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
this
or
is
like a really fake way of saying yeah, they're definitely bad. But there's one good guy in it.
it's probably now that you mention it, it's one of the most realistic Bond films if we're like going on that level. It's like in terms of plots and stuff that could actually happen, this is right up there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, effectively a lot of it has, but anyway, but
Mm.
not in terms of quantum. But still, she's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to tell Bond to stop killing people, and because they're gonna say, yeah, we need to basically either capture or kill Bond.
Mhm.
Um, and in which part we also cut back to Bond and Camille. They found a way out, but then we also get to hear her backstory, which is
Yeah.
quite horrific, actually.
I mean,
Um,
it does serve a purpose because there is a
yeah,
payoff for it, but still,
yeah.
it's like, all right, this it's definitely the slowest part of the film by far.
It's slow, but it's only for like 1 minute, so it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
it's okay.
And their acting is great as well. Daniel Craig's just standing there, like looking like he's doing the 1,000 mile stare. So,
Mm.
um,
And
and
it's nice for once. I mean, I'm going to skip ahead a bit. Actually, I'll mention it when we get to the end, but yeah, go
yeah,
on.
and as well, they go through a walk through the desert, which is when you see all these poor villagers. Don't know
Mhm.
why, but Camille's going Hobbit mode in the desert as well. So R.I.P. To being burnt. But anyway, um, they do end up going back to the hotel, and Bond finds M and like 50 other henchmen there, or bodyguards in this case. he's like, can you trust these men as well?
Yeah.
Because they're in a very similar situation as to before. We get a great Goldfinger reference here too.
Goldfinger tribute. You know what though? Now I come to think of it, I wonder if with what's the name, Summer Fields or whatever, she's like the fact that M sent her probably deliberately actually to keep Bond busy. I mean, she's not an idiot, right? She's like very aware of Bond's, you know, urges, let's say. And in fact, probably that was all a deliberate move to keep him busy till they could turn up and apprehend him effectively. But obviously, didn't play out that way. So, unfortunately for Summerfields, who definitely didn't deserve that, but
Yeah.
does make for a good Goldfinger tribute, to be fair.
Yeah, so she gets covered in oil and supposedly drowned in it, actually. And it's also a way to throw off MI6, being like, "Oh, this is about oil," when he's like, "No, it isn't."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they literally angle the camera exactly the same as they did in Goldfinger for that.
Yeah, minus the
I mean,
pillar.
yeah, exactly. And she's like, "Well, Bond, tough luck, but you have to, give up all your weapons." The farewell to arms, which is also quite reminiscent of License to Kill.
Yeah,
And he beats up all of them while tied up in the lift, which is, I guess, quite cool, but also shows they're quite incompetent. Maybe M has kind of like purged all of the bodyguard ranks, which is left like, the trainees left.
maybe.
Um, but it's great. It's quite funny as well because he comes out the lift, he's fine, he's got his gun again, and then M sees him and he's just like, he has to confirm, "I'm not doing this because of Vesper. I've got something going here, And then she's
Yeah.
like, "Wow, that's great." And then says to someone else, "Yeah, I trust him." So he manages to escape. And she's like, "Well, also, there is a capture or kill on site sort of order for you." So Bond is actually in, the deep end here, to be honest. He's even more pursued in this than he was in License to Kill, so which is quite good.
Yeah,
Because this is probably the Bond film where, in terms of where his actions actually have consequences, they kind of
yeah.
hold him to that most, as well as everyone else's, actions all kind of interlinked here. Um, and he does manage to dip, but not before he gets to meet Felix,
Yeah,
who is like, they have a little conversation. He's like, "Well, regimes change once a week down here," which is actually not far off from the truth either for South
yeah, yeah,
America.
yeah,
I think Bolivia's had like 25 different constitutions or something at some
yeah.
point, or maybe I'm getting them mixed up. Um, but yeah, he was like, "Well, yeah," and then Bond's like, "Well, you're not that cynical, are you, Felix? Also, how much time do I have?" And Felix is somehow telepath because he knows he has 30 seconds. Bond
Oh, I
escapes again.
love this interaction. It's so
Yeah,
intimate, and it just really builds their friendship there, like, right, and it's so earned as well. It's not like forced or anything. That's
yeah,
why Jeffrey Wright is such a great. He's so good in that role, man. It's again why he was so good as Jim Gordon in the Batman as well. Just he's just perfect for that specific role, and he's just Bond's buddy, and it's like, yeah, I love it, man. They're looking
yeah,
out for each other whilst also not trying not to get like compromised and stuff. It's great.
yeah,
It's so good.
yeah.
It's a shame
And it's also
he never
great.
really got his own sort of action scene, but I guess he's not much of an action guy. Not as much as Bond, of course.
Yeah. And
But
it's
yeah,
great as well because you have this whole thing where Bond's like being chased and he's like taking down these guys with like guns and like proper like SWAT gear and so on. Well, like Felix is just everyone's down, like gotten down in the bar. He's the only guy just keeps drinking that he doesn't care,
yeah.
which is great. And unsurprisingly, Bond does escape. He doesn't get shot in the back of the head. And was kind of where the film starts to reach its climax, and he goes with Camille to the complex, which
Yeah.
is Green's gaff, I suppose, that he's built there, which is
The
actually
set design
again
for this is amazing, man. I love this like base. It's so
base.
cool.
Yeah. And the thing is that's interesting is this is again ahead of its time because I think I don't really want to get it wrong, but I think it's Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Qatar, or it's one of those like it's one of the Middle Eastern countries that's quite rich.
Hmm.
They are actually building something which is effectively the same as this. It's not powered on, red explosive barrels from video games,
Yeah.
but um but still, I mean,
Well,
they
yeah, I mean,
even
it's effectively accommodation in like a really inhospitable environment. So yeah, and
yeah,
that really sums up the Middle East. And yeah, of course, it's all air conditioning and stuff. Because if you go
yeah.
outside, you will fry. So yeah,
It is very cool though, because you also get this kind of deal that goes down between the general and Dominic Green, which is quite cool to be fair, because he's like, oh yeah, just sign this, and then he's like,
yeah,
yeah, whatever, you know. It's like, so he gets his land, and then he's like, oh yeah, well, also you need to sign this as well because I now own 60% of your water supply. Uh, and then tells him, well, you can shoot me, but if you don't want to cooperate, we'll just get another guy who will. And
yeah. And I think
surprisingly,
this is his
like,
best scene personally. Like, it's very real again, and it's very like well acted and well delivered, and it's like this is. But that's the good thing about this film. There's basically nothing particularly cheesy happens in it or cringe. It's all like feels fresh, like you said. So
yeah,
that's definitely an advantage because they didn't go for
yeah,
like this global plot, like or anything like that. It's just like it feels, yeah, like very self-contained as well as being a great sequel to Casino Royale.
yeah. And the funny thing is as well, like while they're all sat on their balcony, in
Hmm.
like having a chat, they were like, some waitress asks them, oh yeah, do you want any drinks? And then the general's like, oh yeah, set me a beer. And the other guy's just like, no, go away. Uh, and who was a friend of Mathis's, like that general who was at the party, which I only realized this time. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, Bond and Camille, they go in. Oh yeah, Bond gives her a lesson which contradicts Tenma's instruction Monster. You only need one shot, and make it count. And your instincts and your adrenaline and all that, will tell you it's different because it's personal. Um, but still, it's. I mean, they both basically invade the building. Bond does a lot of destruction, sets off a chain explosion.
Yeah.
And this is quite funny as well because Green realizes Bond's chasing him whilst the place is falling to pieces, and he gets his henchman to stand there, the bowl cut guy, who's in a neck brace now or something, and that guy gets like incinerated, like
Yeah.
I don't know, which is the only it makes it well, it's a satisfying death for him just because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
dumbest looking henchman ever. I mean, no offense to the actor, but seriously,
Yeah, I really
uh,
hope he got like other roles after this or off the back of this, and this
yeah.
isn't like his legacy, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being that one guy from Quantum of Solace. And you get a great slow. I love this like slow mo shot of like Green's like running away from like the smashing glass and the fire
Yeah,
and everything. But the way this is filmed is just amazing. Like this whole
yeah,
sort of sequence.
yeah.
Um, and even it's kind of funny when Craig has to actually fight him because it's like
Mm.
obviously this guy's very short and obviously would get demolished by him in a regular fight. So they're like, all right,
Give him a
look at the
chance.
Max Zorn approach and give him a
Yeah.
fire axe.
Oh, this is
Um,
amazing, man, and the way it's deployed is so good as well. I think the only thing that would have with Dominic Green, I think literally a change that I would have made is just give him a cooler surname because Green is like whatever, but if you give him like I don't know, if you just called him I don't know why this is on my mind, but Mr. X or something like that. I mean, that'd have been too much, but something like memorable, then that would have helped him out a lot, I think. But anyway, that's a small thing. Anyway, this fight is really cool.
but still, I don't know, he's got like the funniest like scream or yell when he's trying to like kill like Bond with this axe.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
like some sort of animal, man.
Well,
And
that's totally what would
he
happen
gets
if you had a guy like that, like pick up an axe and fighting for his life, man. Like that. That's
yeah,
yeah.
true.
Again,
I mean, for how mismatched they are, it's a great, well choreographed fight.
yeah, 100%.
I think, and he gets a fucking axe in the foot, man. Like,
Yeah, it culminates in that, and I was just trying to think like where exactly that axe fall because I think it because obviously you got the big toe and then like the middle sort of long toe, not the middle toe, but next to that you have this, then the toes start getting smaller, right? So like I reckon it's between the where it start, so between the first two, the big two, and then like the little three. I reckon it
oh
goes in there, man, like right in there. It's so gruesome, man, but yeah,
yeah,
very like yeah. And then obviously Camille's having her own little sort of bit as
yeah,
well.
boss battle.
She
Yeah,
gets her revenge on the general, so that was good.
yeah.
Um, But then
The
she's
other
like,
thing that
frightened in the corner again, like when she was a child
because
and
like the
stuff. So
place is burning down.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, it's pretty depressing as well because like Bond is like, you really, I mean, they lead to believe that he's just gonna shoot both of them in the head.
yeah.
Um, where he's like, yeah, like close your eyes and so on. And she's like, oh yeah, yeah, remember what you said, you've only got one shot or whatever. And conveniently, a quick time event, the piece of the wall falls off with a explosive canister like there is in every room, for room service or a quick getaway, and he
Oh
shoots it.
wow, it could have been like fire extinguisher, right?
Like, how would that explode? Like,
Or no, actually, I would say because that is probably an AC building. I mean, for sure, then it probably would have those sort of canisters hanging around. So I
yeah,
think we can excuse that.
yeah. Well, anyway, it blows a hole right in the wall, and they escape. While they also see Dominic Green like limping off into the desert,
Yeah.
which is great. The way they leave him with like,
Oh, yeah.
because he's like, oh, I answered your questions. You said you let me live, and he's like, yeah, sure thing. And he gives him a can of motor oil. He's like, yeah, I'll give you 20 miles before you start thinking drinking it, which is just great. They just drive off and leave him there.
Yeah, it's so good. And you know what? That's actually very similar to something that happens in John Wick 3, I want to say, a few years later. So it's worth pointing that out, I think. Very, very, very cool. Like, I don't know. I just love that interaction, that scene. It's just like, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's very
Yeah,
clever. Very good.
yeah,
And it's
yeah. And then
also,
Bond,
obviously it's ironic because it's like, oh, you love it. And also, it's like a little bit of revenge for Summerfield, Strawberry Field, sorry. So yeah.
yeah, true.
Strawberry
Yeah, yeah, because then yeah, what's his name? Yeah, he ties up the end with Camille. He's like, oh yeah, well, I guess you got a couple other things to do, like break all these dams down, get the water going again. She's like, yeah. So they get to share their obligatory kiss, and then we get Bond's
That for me was just really bad.
points.
That's that kind of soured the entire film in a way because they've finally nailed like a female lead who isn't like, I mean, she's attractive obviously, but she's not just overly sexualized or anything like that. And then they just go ahead and do that. It's just like, okay, it's not like over the top, but still like just would have been better if
Yeah,
they
it's not.
didn't
It's
do that.
like Pierce Brosnan style. It's got like a mic up between them so you can hear everything.
Yeah,
But still,
I just didn't just think the film would have been better without just that kiss. It just cheapens it a little bit, I think.
yeah, I would probably agree. To be honest, I mean, it's something that Bond needs to move on from. To be honest,
Although we all know
start
that
kissing
it's
dead.
Daniel Craig's lust for passionate kisses, random moments with whoever's closest to him. So yeah, maybe it's.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on, we get Bond's DLC mission at the end,
Yeah.
which would normally be like Casino Royale style where it drags on and you want to shoot yourself, but it's actually fine in this, I think, because it's like in the snow. He's like, it kind of mirrors the beginning of Casino Royale a bit as well, where he's hiding in this guy's apartment. And he pops in and he's like, well, actually, your Vespa's X. And this guy turns out that he basically runs a scheme where he pretends that he's being held hostage, and he also gets with female agents and extracts information out of them and so on and so forth through
Yeah,
this.
pretty
And then,
mad scam to be fair. It's like some
yeah,
sort
he
of
also gives them the same necklace every time, and then he's like, well, I've
yeah,
got one like that
scumbag.
too. Yeah. And the guy's like, oh yeah, make it quick. And it actually doesn't show you Bond shooting him because he doesn't kill him, or at least he might have beaten the shit out of him. Who knows? But it shows it like that Bond's grown because then he goes down to M, and she's actually quite surprised that he hasn't killed him.
Hmm.
Um, and he's like, oh yeah, I've definitely gotten over everything for sure, which you would have hoped the filmmakers had as well. But anyway, um, he leaves
Yeah,
the
that's the
necklace.
last we hear of Vesper, right? I mean, that's a really
Yeah, it
nice
would have been
ending. It
great
really
if they just
ties it
left
all
it.
nicely together and a little ribbon. It's like, okay, perfect. Now we can move on from that.
Yeah,
Please,
exactly. And then
hopefully.
M's like, "Oh yeah, are you gonna stop retiring now?" And he's like, "Yeah, actually, I didn't retire or something. I don't know." He has
Wait,
some epic levels of going rogue here in this film. But that's the great. That's like I think that's the last frame. Is either the necklace in the snow or just Bond walking away.
I love this. Yeah, it's so good. I mean, the cinematography is great, and it's just like this snowy. Where is that in Finland? I want to say, or something like that.
I
Not
can't
so sure.
remember, to be honest.
But yeah, I like that environment. It's just such a great contrast to the desert as well that we just sort of sat in for the last
Yeah.
an hour. So yeah.
Yeah, Bond in the snow is just always great, and it's a great way to end it. The only thing is, as well, of course, they put the gun barrel at the end again this time, and
Yeah.
I would say this itself is also probably one of the worst. It was perfect timing, actually. Tom's just joined us.
Not
This is one of
really
the worst
perfect
gun
timing,
barrels as
but
well,
okay.
because he's like,
Yeah, it's just
Jennifer-
stupid. There was such a good opportunity to put it in earlier, and they didn't, and they're just it's like they forgot. They were like, oh, yeah, we need to put the gun
yeah,
barrel.
and then it looks like Daniel Craig's like rushing to this. He's like, his like head's bobbling about, and he's like, hunched over. He shoots, and also, it zooms out to like the title. It's like Quantum of Solace, and then you get to see Bond walk away from the gun barrel, like he's doing like 50 takes or something.
Yeah.
Which is also not a nice end to it because it just makes you question what's going on.
Yeah.
But that is the end of Quantum of Solace. Quite a fast film, quite a good film.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally speaking, overall,
Well,
like I said, it's fresh. Kind of is the best way I can describe this film.
yes, and we're going to rank them, but before we do, Tom, have you got your licensed quiz?
I want to play a game.
Now, just as a preface, Henry accidentally saw the budget box office, so we're just going to do a best of 5 this time, which I don't know if that's a disadvantage for me because I usually do quite well with the budget ones, but never mind, no excuses.
Whatever.
Let's go ahead and see what you got, Tom.
All right, so this current score is 3-2 to James right now, and yeah. So with the best of these 5 questions I have, how many minutes?
What was the budget in the box office, by the way?
It was
220
200 million for the budget estimated.
Wow.
And box office $589,508,482. So
this is modern dollars, so
yeah,
it's probably like
so
5 quid back in 1962.
so like yeah, how many? Well, this film is, as we all know, the shortest James Bond film. But can you guess how many minutes shorter is Quantum of Solace than the next shortest James Bond film, Goldfinger?
It's about 2 minutes, right?
I'm going to go 4 minutes.
Well, is one of you willing to amend on those answers?
3 minutes.
Yeah, well, James got that.
Goldfinger 1 hour 47. I thought it was also 1 hour 46, but
It
anyway.
was 1 hour 50 minutes and 1 second. This thing was 1 hour 46 minutes and 14 seconds. So it was 3 minutes and 47 seconds shorter.
There you go.
So
well, even my 4-minute guess would have been closer, but yeah, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Dominic Green is played by a French actor. How many Bond villains are played by French actors, including him, and up to this point?
Oh, what a great question.
Okay,
let me think. So you just want a number, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. I'm gonna go
3.
I'm gonna go 4.
Can we name
You
them?
can try and name them, yeah.
All right, hang on, wait.
But James is correct. He is 4. So
Okay, so I'm gonna name the ones I had. So obviously this guy, Dominic Green, who I would have forgotten to be fair.
You had
Hugo
Louis Jourdan.
Drax, Carl Stromberg, and
Carl Stromberg's Swedish, isn't he?
is he?
well, if Henry wants to amend on that, then maybe.
Wait. I don't know. I'm sure the actor for Carl.
I'm trying to remember who the last one is who's French.
He is Swedish. I do know that he is Swedish.
Oh,
the first French act. Yeah.
hang on. Let me
do you
think.
want to take a crack at it, Henry? Or
Yeah, go on, Henry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who it was. Who's French?
So we said Hugo Drax.
Charles Gray.
Wait. So Hugo Drax is correct.
Mm-hmm.
You
take a guess, Henry.
Of course.
Christopher
That's
Walken
correct.
plays a French character, supposedly. So.
Yeah, I left that out of it very
Yeah,
deliberately because you get
Doesn't
some
really
very
count.
weird ethnicities.
French actor as the main villain.
Yep.
4 of them. Okay, one.
Is it the guy from Living Daylights? What's his name? Koskov.
No, he's Dutch.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, Brad Whitaker.
Yeah, he's
Bond
up his
villains, man. Oh yeah, Carmen Electra.
Yeah, Electric King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well,
So that's all.
And there's one more, right?
Yeah.
it's
No.
Lucia
You
Dunn's
got
Kamal
them
Khan,
all.
isn't it?
So Hugo
Yeah.
So
Drax.
who were they? So it was
Hugo
this guy,
Drax,
Dominic
Kamal
Green.
Khan, Dominic Green, and Electric King. All
The
4 of
guy
them.
Kamal Khan was French.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Louis
Because I watched like a
Jourdan.
really famous French actor.
Huh. There you go. I thought he was English.
No, he's not English. Yeah. Wow.
All right. Well, I still get the points for that, right?
Do you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, in the hotel scene at the end, a woman is seen serving drinks to the villains. She is the granddaughter, actually, of which famous black and white actor?
What? Do you mean black and white? You mean like from the 50s or whatever?
Like a really old actor.
And what?
This is his granddaughter.
What? Is it male or female?
Well, it's male.
Are they in a Bond film?
No.
Damn. All right, I'm gonna guess.
So who's the person? Who's the person
I'm
we're
gonna
talking
guess
about?
Humphrey
It's
Bogart.
wait, what? What did you try to say, Henry?
Oh wait, hang on. Was she like the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have to remember that trivia, man.
that's so random. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I was hoping you would guess, and then because he's very famous, of course, so you'd eventually get it.
Who's
Henry,
the person though who was the granddaughter? Where was she in this film?
she was the one serving beer and like basically gets assaulted almost at the end before Camille steps in. And yeah.
2-1.
And which console did the Quantum of Solace video game release on?
Xbox 360, I think.
Nope. James, you could take a crack at it.
Gonna go PS Vita.
No, go on, Henry.
I don't know, the PS2 actually must have been.
Yeah, Henry got that.
Such.
We have a draw coming up as well.
Henry did. 2-2. Fine. What's the last one?
I played on the Xbox 360 once, but
Yeah, poor thing. So did I. The Bolivian water crisis was caused by the privatization of Bolivia's water supply and led to the worst affected city, Cochabamba, having how many hours of running water per day?
Ooh, great question, man.
I just put 2.
That's what I was gonna say. How many hours of running? I wanted to say 2. Is it a round number?
Yes, it's completely a round number.
All right, Henry.
Yeah, not like half an
All right,
hour.
I'll go with 1.
Your final answers are 1 and 2 hours, respectively.
Yeah, sure thing.
You're both a little off, but Henry's closer, actually. So it was actually 4 hours of running water per day. So amidst
Man.
Well, 4's not that bad. I mean, you know.
It is
You
bad
want to try?
considering that people had to spend, like, the price of water was risen by 35%, and by this one company that had a huge monopoly on it. And
Well, that's just bad, but
that was
amidst. You can deal with that, I think.
No, that was amidst like 25,000% in super inflation on their currency already. So like, yeah, it was like completely backbreaking to them, basically. So yeah, and it happens, I think, even after this film again and again. So
Yeah,
like,
what year did that happen? Do you know?
1999 to 2000, it was going on initially, and then it happened again. And I think, yeah,
Wow.
it was.
That's annoying, man.
That's why
I could have made the 2 points up on the.
You could have, but yeah. So that's License to Quiz for this thing. And
so Henry's the winner, basically. 3. Then we're on to the rankings then.
Joy of joys.
Bond actor, number 1, Sean Connery, number 2, Timothy Dalton, number 3, Roger Moore, number 4, Pierce Brosnan, number 5, George Lazenby, number 6, Daniel Craig. What a mess of a list.
I think because of this, this film just solely pushes him up to 3rd. I was even considering if he would go above Timothy Dalton for this because of how good this sort of
Yeah, I think he should,
performance is.
actually.
Okay.
But we all know
What do you
things
think,
that
Tom?
go up.
We were saying that we think this is one of Daniel Craig's best acting performances. So
I think so too. But I don't think quite up to 3rd. Maybe so right now it's Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton, Roger Moore, and then George
And
Lazenby.
Pierce Brosnan,
No,
Pierce Brosnan and George Lazenby.
yeah, I think maybe he'd go above Pierce Brosnan if I'm being really generous, but definitely above.
you know
George
what? I
Lazenby.
think Tom's right. Actually, I think it would be a bit of. We've got Skyfall anyway, so I think Daniel Craig's going to yo-yo up and down this ranking. To be fair,
he really will, man.
So let's put Daniel Craig 4th then for now.
Yeah, this film had lots of good characters and moments in it, and I think this is kind of Sigma, but kind of not.
Yeah.
There was some dialogue that I really like you can't put a price on integrity. I can try and stuff like that. And then other things like I'd rather stay in a morgue and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, well then, one of these very strong characters is the Bond girl, who wouldn't be probably the Bond girl if they didn't share that kiss at the end. So Camille will find a place in our list, which at the moment is 1, Tracy, 2, Natalia, 3, Cara, 4, Triple X, 5, Paris Carver, 6, Wei Lin, 7, Miranda Frost, 8, Domino, 9, Holly Goodhead, 10, Honey Rider, 11, Miss Anders, 12, Vesper, 13, Octopussy, 14, Melina, 15, Tatiana, 16, Pam and Lupe, 17, Jinx, 18, Aki and the Wife, 19, Pussy Galore, 20, Tiffany Case, 21, Stacey Sutton, 22, Solitaire, 23, Goodnight, 24, Christmas Jones, 25, BB. Where are we putting Camille?
Put just below Cara, honestly.
Good.
Cara's 3rd, so I don't know if she goes that high.
One thing I like about Camille is she's extremely believable, which Triple X, even with the name, isn't for me. So I think.
Yeah, but I still think I don't know. I quite like, if I go further down, I like Wei Lin, I like Paris Carver. Miranda Frost is pretty good. I think. Should probably go maybe below Miranda Frost for my money, but
would not put her below Frost.
I think people like Triple X, who are supposed to be Russian agents, who are completely not.
Triple X
Russian
is quite
agents.
high. We should probably bring her down a little bit, but I think we can amend those later. I think for now we could put. I would like to put Camille below Wei Lin. Personally, I think Wei Lin's better.
I put her above Wei Lin because Camille has personal motivation, and really Wei Lin's just an action hero.
So below Paris Carver or above Paris Carver?
I think below Paris. I think below Paris Carver, maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm outnumbered on this.
That means Camille goes in at 6th, which is very respectable.
Yeah, and a list of 26 now. So
yeah. Villain. We're gonna rank Dominic Green against number 1, Max Zorin. 2, Blofeld, Donald Pleasance. 3, Goldfinger. 4, Telly Savalas, Blofeld. 5, 006. 6, Le Chiffre. 7, Fran Sanchez. 8, Gustav Graves. 9, Hugo Drax. 10, Elliot Carver. 11, Scaramanga. 12, Kamal Khan and Orlov. 13, Dr. Kananga. 14, Dr. No. 15, Rosa Klebb. 16, Electra King and Renard. 17, General Hummel. 18, Largo. 19, Stromberg. 20, Koskov and Whisker. 21, Christatos. 22, Largo and Blofeld from Never Say Never Again. And 23, Charles Gray Blofeld. So,
I think he goes maybe around Electra King, maybe below Largo sort of thing, because he's good, but unfortunately he doesn't get that much to do. He has some good lines.
Yeah.
I love the line where it's oh please, my friends call me Dominique, and he's I'm sure they do. And it's okay.
I think that area's fair. I mean, we've got 16 Electra King, 17 Hummel, 18 Largo. I think he should go above Largo and Hummel, but maybe below Maybe above Electric King and Renner.
He's better than Electric King, man.
Yeah.
I
Mm,
don't have to go on about the Oedipus complex and all this bullshit. For
Yeah, yeah.
true. Yeah.
Okay, so then below Rosa Klebb and above Electric King, how about that?
I'd actually even put him above Rosa Klebb, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. He's such a slimy, like
What do you think, Tom?
hateable character.
He is like a complete bastard, but like
I mean, by the end of it,
Well,
you're
so's
like
Rosa
glad.
Klebb. She's like, you know.
Yeah.
No, but you're glad to hear by the end of it that he's got like filled his lungs with oil.
Henry, I'm trying to defend, From Russia with Love here. I mean, what about her,
Yeah, but
like,
Rosa
fourth
Klebb's
act
not
and
the best
everything?
part from Russia with Love, and we know that.
To be fair, that's yeah. Dominic Green does get really. What did you think of the fight though, where he like goes insane with like the
That's
axe?
good.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good
great,
fight.
man.
Yeah, it's weird to think that like
The fight is good.
he gets a physical fight almost with Daniel Craig, but like Silver doesn't, and like the Sheep doesn't
Yeah.
really. So
Yeah.
it's quite funny. But I think
Rosa Klebb does.
she does. Yeah.
Yeah, tries to kick him in the nuts.
Yeah,
No, I mean, this territory's Doctor No, Rosa Klebb. I can't really put Dominic Green above them. Well, we like him, but I think
All right.
60.
Well, I'm not gonna die on this hill, so
Yeah.
my main fighting has already been done in the list.
So, Tom, above or below Rosa Klebb? Surely below.
I think they're both really good. I think Rosa Klebb's just a bit more iconic in general, so I'd go with her really.
She has that cool shoe which puts her above him.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, she has a blade coming out of her shoe, and Dominic Green has one going into it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, this is made 2008, so we get to. I forgot to make a Heath Ledger joke, so sorry, everyone.
Yeah, we'll insert that now.
Well, you'll be able to make that in the next one because lots of that is inspired.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. But anyway, all right. Henchman, we're going to rank the bowl cut guy against 1 Jaws, 2 Odd Job, 3 Red Grunt, 4 Necros, 5 Zhao, 6 Mayday, 7 Boris Zenya and Urumov, 8 Gobinder and the Twins, 9 Teehee and his mates, 10 Bunt, 11 Dario, 12 Luke and Eric, 13 Winton Kid, 14 Stamper, 15 Knick-Knack, 16 Fiona, 17 Hands. I think this guy goes below Hands.
Yeah, the very bottom of the list. Man.
He's
Bowl cut guy is going in.
Yeah, the best part of this film where he's like trips down the stairs and sprains his neck. That's literally it.
Yeah, and then we see him later in a neck brace.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
also when he gets incinerated, like vaporized by all the flames. Anyway.
The DBS returns, so we're going to rank it. It's already 4th. So number 1, Aston Martin DB5, 2, Aston Martin Vanquish, 3, Aston Martin Vantage, 4, Aston Martin DBS, 5, Little Nelly. We move the DBS at all?
No.
Or, I mean, above the Vantage, or keep it where it is?
Yeah, just keep where it is, to be honest.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. M is still Judi Dench, number 1. Ally/Felix Leiter. Number 1, Draco and Campbell. 2, Tiger. 3, VJ. 4, Valentine Zukovsky. 5, Coral and Leiter. 6, Henry's written the Felix Leiter. So, can we move him up? I think.
Yeah,
I think he was amazing. I think this is his best film actually, because like again, like we had the moment where he like is asked to ID James Bond, and he like catches the phone without looking, and like I really like
so good, man.
I like how he takes over from that flipping CIA chief of
that's the most unrealistic part of this film. Well, as if Felix like would get 2 gunshots to the back of the head and fall down the stairs. They call it a suicide. Yeah, he got the guy's job.
It's another thing.
That would happen.
I think I know, but it is what it is. I think we can move him up a little bit because this is better.
So above him is Coral and Leiter, and Valentine Zukovsky and VJ. So I don't think he's quite VJ levels.
Maybe
is he above or below Valentine Zukovsky?
I think above, because he's like. We can change this also with No Time to Die, because I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Zukovsky's great though, but
I he changes too much for me. Like.
Yeah, that is true. He really has like almost whiplash of character sort of change with Daniel Craig. Not Daniel Craig, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, he's like a flipping.
Well,
best friend in the world's not enough.
Teddy.
Well, okay, so above or below? What are we saying?
Above.
I don't mind. Above.
I'd say
Yeah,
above.
because Liza's
Alright.
more consistent in this. It's in
All right, so Jeffrey Wright's Felix Leiter is going in at fourth now.
finally a good Felix Leiter.
Gadget, I don't think we have a gadget. Okay, theme song.
You got the little cute earphones, you know.
Yeah, the goodie bag.
Yeah.
All right, theme song. We've got what's it called?
Another
Way to Die, which is up against number 1, You Know My Name. 2, On a Majesty Secret Service. 3, View to a Kill. 4, the James Bond theme. 5, Live and Let Die. 6, License to Kill. 7, The Living Daylights. 8, Goldfinger. 9, You Only Live Twice. 10, Goldeneye. 11, Tomorrow Never Dies. 12, The Man with the Golden Gun. 13, For Your Eyes Only. 14, Never Say Never Again. 15, Thunderball. 16, Nobody Does It Better. 17, Moonraker. 18, Diamonds Are Forever. 19, From Russia with Love. 20, The World Is Not Enough. 21, Die Another Day. 22, All Time High.
I think it goes above or below Goldfinger. Actually, I really like this theme song. Like,
Yeah.
it's my favorite. It's my favorite of all the Craig ones, actually. So
Seriously?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
It is a good one. I
people
think I agree
hate
with
on
Tom.
it
I think
so
it
much.
probably just
Yeah,
goes
but
below
it's not better
Goldfinger
than, like,
and above You Only Live
You Know My
Twice.
Name.
Yeah, that's good, but like one of them was on my iPod Shuffle and one of them wasn't. So what am I gonna
You missed out,
say?
man.
I
Not
don't.
to mention what's to come as well.
Everyone
Anyway.
else can like that for me.
But look,
I like this more.
But look, I think below Goldfinger and above You Only Live Twice is a pretty good spot.
Oh, by the way, did you know that there was meant to be like a Shirley
yeah, Shirley
Bassey?
Bassey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well,
really
there
cool.
wasn't meant to be. She just did that after the film.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I don't know. To be fair, I'm not too like adamant as to whether they should go above
I
or below
think
Goldfinger. So
Below Goldfinger, because Goldfinger.
Yeah, I
so
think
classic.
you're spot
Yeah.
on there. I agree with that. So it's going in at 9th then. Below Goldfinger, above You Only Live Twice. Opening. So that car chase, which Henry's not a big fan of, but Tom,
I'm not a
surely
big
you like
fan
it,
of
right?
it either. I'm not a
Really?
big fan of like. I think the opening should have been that and a bit longer. It should have been that plus the bit where he intercepts like
Yeah,
Mitchell and like does the cool like turn and shoot thing.
Yeah.
If that was the intro, it would have been way hyper. It's just
yeah,
like,
actually,
Yeah,
that
that's
would
true.
come out.
Oh, can you imagine with the music like Hugh as well? Yeah, it'd have been amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it would have
as
been
it
because
is-
it's like a bit like of a which strange thing where he opens the boot and then it cuts into it because it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, as it is, number 1 is Die Another Day. 2, The Spy Loved Me. 3, Goldfinger. 4, Octopussy. 5, Moonraker. 6, Goldeneye. 7, The Living Daylights. 8, View to a Kill. 9, Tomorrow Never Dies. 10, Casino Royale. 11, The World Is Not Enough. 12, On a Majesty Secret Service. 13, From Russia with Love. 14, The Man with the Golden Gun. 15, License to Kill. 16, You Only Live Twice. 17, Thunderball. 18, Live and Let Die. 19, For Your Eyes Only. And 20, sorry, Diamonds Are Forever. Wow. Yeah, I reckon.
below From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can
Below
you-
From Russia with Love, above The Man with the Golden Gun.
Could you like read around the kind of GoldenEye area of that?
GoldenEye 6th, and then The Living Daylights is 7th. 8th is A View to a Kill. It's not going.
I think I actually really like this film. I know it's like it's something of a guilty pleasure for me. Like I first time I watched it, I really hated it, and it was the last film I ever watched that was like catching up with all the James Bonds, which like I'd not ever seen before. So, and there was like a really low note, but since then I watched it again and again, and I really like.
It's
and-
definitely a film that ages really well, and
and
it's
the
very
plot,
solid.
the plot is amazing, by the way. Like people hate on it, but it's so
Ahead of
realistic and so like for all the
The
shortness
people
of
who
the
hate on it most are the people who made the film, which I don't understand. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and like for all the short time, it's like it really like delves into like some really like, interesting like places which Bond never goes before or since.
Yeah.
So
100%.
and like I don't know, like people from I think people from like lower developed countries where this sort of stuff happens can relate with it more, but because yeah, as you know, like we live James and I are living in Serbia right now, and there was a similar thing with Rio Tinto like a year ago or something, but and mining. So I think this thing has really aged very well, and Yeah, I actually watched it most of all the Daniel Craig films in my
Wow.
own time. Yeah, like I don't know, like
But some just because it sounds like you're building up to ranking the film itself. We're just doing the opening
Yeah.
right now.
yeah.
So for the opening, I think Below From Russia with Love, above the Man with the Golden Gun. Was that fair?
I
Yeah.
think maybe I would even maybe put it below Man with the Golden Gun
Yeah, I might agree with that, actually.
because it's
Oh, yeah, it's Christopher Lee. Yeah, all right.
It's Christopher Lee, my favourite thing I've ever heard.
All right, Quantum of Solace is going in at 15th then for the opening. Now, the Sigma moment. What are we going to nominate?
I'd like to have an honourable shout out to that guy who says, no, go away to the waitress.
I think Bond himself is a Sigma male in this film,
a
more
bit,
so
yeah.
than perhaps.
I think he is
any other.
coping a bit in it, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the ending.
I was tempted to like put one of the questions: how many times does James Bond say the word Vesper in this film?
I shot myself. Yeah, is that bowl cut guy?
So what moment are we? I think the one where Dominic Green, where the Field, no, not Fields, Haynes like falls on the car and he's like, "Does he work for me?" Then why is he looking at me? And shoots him.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
That's quite.
what about? I know it's not like completely like Sigma, but it is quite memorable. Well, for me, quite memorable. It's like you can't put a price on integrity. I can try.
That's a good one. I think his confrontation with the general as well, where he's like, "Well, like."
Oh
at the
yeah,
end,
that.
Oh yeah.
That-
It was
that's-
his specific line was when he said, you can shoot me in the head and have a sleep tight tonight. Like he's just threatening him basically.
Hmm.
He just shows that he's not afraid of him either. He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
That is pretty. I mean, also the fact that he's just duped this guy into signing over like over half his forces.
Yeah.
That's
Should we put that
quite
moment
Sigma.
in? Or
Oh.
what?
Huh?
Well, should we put that moment then?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
right, like you can shoot me now.
Okay, so Dominic Green versus the General, let's say, goes. We've got 1, Goldfinger, I own the club. 2, a convenient goal, Max Orin. 3, Gustav Graves, dismissal of the importance of sleep. 4, backgammon in Octopussy. 5, you missed Mr. Bond. Did I? 6, Red Grant. 7, Le Chiffre. Mads Mikkelsen. 8, Blofeld's extortion. 9, Dr. No. 10, Carver. Elliot Carver. Oh yeah, in Insanity and Genius. 11, the thumbs up in The Rock. 12, Timothy Dalton's Bond, presumably in License to Kill. 13, James, I need you. So does England. We should go higher, I think now. 14, Launder It. 15, Natalia versus the Computer Salesman. 16, Make Sure They Lose It in This Casino. 17, Tracy's Countess. 18, Scaramanga. 19, Eric. 20, Blofeld's Battle Submarine. 21, David Niven. 22, Names of Tombstone's Baby. 23, King Country. 24, Q in Never Say Never Again. Favorite song.
This is also something that I want to bring up.
Yep.
I would put it above Blofeld's Extortion, and the thing is as well with it is in this film, they don't have the rights to Spectre, and for the last 2 Bond films, they've been trying to build up this new organization called Quantum. And after seeing this, I actually find this more interesting than Spectre is, to be honest. They could have just left that in the past. Just do away with Blofeld, and you've just got Mr. White instead, who's actually more interesting.
Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily put them above Natalia versus the Salesman, for example.
You do
but
have
still, like he's to take over this guy's country basically for free.
That's true.
I mean, it's the more you look into that specifics of that little messed up, you find out it is basically. I don't think it goes quite that high because we're talking about the Sigma moment, and this
that is really Sigma.
The plot,
to be fair.
the plot is but
the whole film is like you said, Tom, quite Sigma in general, but
Bond's literally me film.
Wow.
What?
But yeah. All right. So where are we going to put it then?
That's my suggestion, but
So you reckon below Mads Mikkelsen and above Blofeld's Extortion? I would put it a bit further down, maybe.
It lacks. It's great line, but it's not like the delivery.
Yeah, it's
as
it
strong.
yeah,
lacks
I guess it
punch,
lacks the
really.
punch. I think. I'll
I'd
give
probably
you
put it below Natalie versus the computer salesman, and then above. Make sure she loses it in this casino, or they lose it.
that.
In
Yeah,
this
all right. I think that's fair.
I wouldn't be as harsh as that. Maybe if you go to the ones immediately
Above it is Launder It, and then James, I Need You So Does England. It can't go above that.
No, it can't go above either of those. To be honest, I think James actually.
Yeah, just
Wait.
below Launder It, I guess.
All right. So Dominic versus General. I'll just put that. Or I'll put Dominic buys Bolivia. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gone at 16th there.
Yeah, he like hijacks it basically.
All right, now we're going to rank the film itself. So, Quantum of Solace is going up against 1. On a Majesty Secret Service, 2. Goldfinger, 3. Octopussy, 4. License to Kill, 5. Moonraker, 6. The Living Daylights, 7. The Spy Loved Me, 8. You Only Live Twice, 9. Die Another Day, 10. Goldeneye, 11. Casino Royale, Henry put in brackets the good one, 12. Tomorrow Never Dies, 13. A View to Kill, 14. The Man with the Golden Gun, 15. Live and Let Die, 16. Doctor No, 17. From Russia with Love, 18. The Rock, 19. The World Is Not Enough, 20. Thunderball, 21. Never Seen Ever Again, 22. For Your Eyes Only, 23. Diamonds Are Forever, 24. Casino Royale. Where are we going to put Quantum of Solace?
This might be a bit of a hot take, but above or below The Spy Loved Me?
Oh, that's far too high.
I thought I was going to be generous.
What's below The Spy Loved Me? I forget.
You Only Live Twice, and then Die Another Day, and then Goldeneye. I think those are all better than Quantum of Solace, especially as Bond films, right? I mean, as much as this is a good film, it's not really a Bond film.
I think
traditional way.
Yeah, I think you might have a point.
I think it's above Tomorrow Never Dies for me. Like Well, Henry, you're pulling the face, but you're going to put it above Spy Love Me, which is also.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking it's at least best thing.
I'd actually probably put it below. I mean, we've got Tomorrow Never Dies and then A View to Kill. I'd probably put it below View to Kill, to be honest.
A View to Kill should be above Tomorrow Never Dies, I think.
Is it at least better than Casino Royale, to be honest, because of the pacing?
No, not better.
No.
And the amount of Vesper you get in there as well.
Oh, you get Vesper and plenty in this as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
know, but it's actually somehow less intrusive.
Nah, I'd put it below View to Kill, actually, personally. And bear in mind, that still means it's going above The Man with the Golden Gun, Live and Let Die, Doctor No, and From Russia with Love, which I think is also generous. But I'd actually be quite tempted to put this below From Russia with Love, not because it's a bad film, but because...
The reason I'm ignoring the fact it would go above Doctor No and From Russia with Love right now is because we'll have that, ability to change it lately.
Yeah,
later.
I'll fucking go back in time and change everything.
All right, so
I think
below View to Kill, above The Man with the Golden Gun, so that'd be.
I think you managed to convince me to bring it down quite far.
No, because this is one of the only films of Daniel Craig that you'll hear me singing praises for, like, because I think it's overhated by a large degree, and like, I really, yeah, as I said, it's the one I watched most of his ones, like on my own initiative. I think I'd put it. The thing is that A View to Kill should be above Tomorrow Never Dies, in my opinion, but I think it goes above Tomorrow Never Dies, like.
Yeah,
it has. Yeah, it has lots of good.
Come on, man, Max Zorin.
Yeah, but we can reshuffle it later.
For the rest of that film,
because I think.
No, I don't want to rely on shuffling it about. I think 14th is still a respectable ranking, and it's still higher than most people would have it as well. So.
Yeah, but in A View to a Kill, the only good thing in it is Max Zorin and some of the soundtrack. That's about it.
Yeah, and the Golden Gate Bridge and the opening.
The Golden Gate Bridge fight is just a massive wasted opportunity because Roger Moore's like 90 in that film.
Right. Well, anyway, I don't think there's anything Quantum of Solace that. I mean, A View to Kill has high highs and low lows, and Quantum of Solace is much more of a steady eddy. So
I think it has high and low lows. For me,
what's the high highs of Quantum of Solace?
You got Felix Leiter, you got the plot, you got the fight at the end, you got yeah, I think.
Yeah, I hear that, but I still don't think that means it goes above A View to a Kill, personally.
How about above A View to a Kill and below Tomorrow Never Dies, so no one's happy.
Well, Are you okay with that, Tom? Because if so, I'm
Mm,
outvoted.
I don't think that's really fair. I think I think overall I have seen A View to a Kill more times. So like, and it is my first Bond. So maybe I will
Yeah,
put it
let's go. Desert Island Disc, man. Which one are you taking with you? View to Kill or Quantum of Solace? Let's be honest.
A View to a Kill.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you make a point.
All right, but we're still
I'm
fans of
just
Quantum
thinking
of
of all the
Solace.
Max
This is fine.
Lawrence.
We're not saying it's still very solid, and we'd recommend it for sure. It has the millionth seal of approval. So yeah.
A
So
convenient coincidence.
I'll let
Yeah,
you sign off. Henry.
that is Quantum of Solace. I mean, I don't know if either of you have anything else to say about it. Apart from the alternate ending that could have been filmed. I think they did film it, but they just didn't use
What
it.
was the alternate ending?
Tom.
There was also it's where he confronts what's his name? Mr. White gets to drop on Vesper's boyfriend first, but then Daniel Craig walks in on it, and it ends with a gun barrel of him shooting Mr.
Oh.
White, just like he did to start off Casino Royale. There was also a different plot point where this is supposed to be the one where like M gets shot and stuff, and you see like a weird cut where she goes down at the beginning after the guy fires. But like I think they must have edited in like a bullet
Yeah,
or something, so it like hits the IV drip or whatever they have there, and she survives for a little longer. So yeah, I think I'd probably go back and watch this again. Like I couldn't say the same. I couldn't say the same for every Craig film. So yeah, and I appreciate how it's like short, kind of as well.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's
Sure.
so
Sure.
it's like a breath of fresh air amidst all these like really heavy Craig films, and it's like
This is
yeah,
thematically quite heavy. It's just not kind of I don't know. It doesn't feel like a very thick film in terms of like you're like trudging
Yeah,
through.
it's not too heavy. It's not trying to do too much. It's just like it sits nicely, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'm surprised we've gone this far without Mr. White. Like a
Yo,
little
Mr. White.
Mr.
and
White.
we get another stupid American thing as well with that chief
Yeah.
of section,
Ned
which is
Oh
Franklin.
yeah,
quite
of
funny.
course.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
yeah,
Okay, well,
been
see
that's
you
all we
soon,
have to
Henry.
say. Then thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week with Skyfall.
Skyfall done. Oh, I
Same bat
can't
time.
fucking wait, man. I
Same
think
bat
this
time.
is my favorite film that we'll have reviewed since the Batman. So
Yeah.
looking forward to
Speaking
it.
of which, same bat time, same bat channel.